Say hello to the Wacom Cintiq Pro family. Now the professional pen display lineup features the 17-inch, the 22-inch and the 27-inch Cintiq Pro. And here's what I think of them. Before we start, a quick disclaimer. Everything I'm saying in this review is based entirely on my own experiences, thoughts and impressions of the Cintiq Pro family. Wacom does not pay me to do this. They also did not ask me to do this. However, to be completely transparent with you, I do have a long partnership with Wacom and I do a lot of commissioned creative work for them, especially creating 3D animations like the launch trailer of the Cintiq Pro 27 and also the family trailer. With that being said, let's dive in and see what these bad boys can do. First of all, there are now 3 different Cintiq Pro sizes: the 17, the 22 and the 27-inch models. And apart from the physical size, they are very similar regarding their tech specs. The only difference is the color performance of each model, as you can see here. But all of them feature a 4K touch panel with HDR capabilities and a smooth 120Hz refresh rate. And to make it clear, all these devices require a compatible computer that is connected to the Cintiq Pro. In my case, I'm using a MacBook Pro. So, when you first unbox the Cintiq Pro, you will find all the necessary cables in the box. Of course, the Cintiq Pro wrapped in a nice black cloth, power cables and a pretty large power brick. Also including some Velcro cable management ties. You have the USB-C to USB-C cable, an HDMI cable, a USB-A to USB-C cable, and also a DisplayPort to DisplayPort cable. And of course, the new Pro Pen 3, and last but not least, the new pen tray that you can attach to the side. If you are using a modern computer, the most elegant way and most effective way to connect your Cintiq is using one cable for power and just one single USB-C cable for video signal as well as the data signal, so you can keep everything nice and clean. So let's talk about the display. Overall, the 27-inch version is physically smaller than the previous 24-inch model, although having a larger display. And of course, there is the 22 inches smaller than the 27, and of course you have the lower end, which is the 17-inch version, which is even smaller. But all these displays are really good. I will focus mostly on the 27-inch here, and it features a 27-inch panel featuring a 4K resolution with an impressive 170-80 degrees viewing angle. It covers 99% Adobe RGB and 98% DCI-P3, and of course 100% sRGB and Rec. 709. If you're working in the graphics, packaging, fashion or industrial design industry, you will also be happy to hear that all Cintiq Pro models are Pantone validated, including Pantone validated skin tones, which means the Pantone standard for displaying the entire range of Pantone skin tones. Additionally, they can also be calibrated with the external calibration tools, for example, the Wacom Color Manager. These are all great features, and frankly, I'm quite spoiled by using BenQ displays as my main work monitors for years. So I'm somewhat used to great color performance and accuracy. But what really stood out, even at first glance, is the new 120Hz refresh rate. You can really see and feel the reduced lag. Wacom calls it near zero image and pen latency. So even when just scrolling, but especially when working with quick brush strokes or working with videos and animation, you will realize that it really stands out and is a really fluid impression. They even have HDR gamma support, so they can display HDR content as they are equipped with their hybrid log gamma, or HLG. However, with a peak brightness of 400 candela, these are still on the lower end of the HDR scale, considering that there are displays out there that go way beyond 1000 candela. But these are not pen displays, of course. So for sure, these are the brightest panels Wacom has ever put into their Cintiqs. I also love the tactile feel that the etched glass surface creates in combination with the pen. Besides the replication of the feeling of working on paper rather than on glass, it also provides a matte finish to the display surface and effectively reduces reflections. Let's talk about parallax. The displays are fully laminated, reducing the thickness between the outer glass surface and the inner actual pixels. This reduces the parallax effect that can be really distracting. I could not find any specs about this, but as you can see, the parallax is very little here, and it really feels like you're actually drawing on the surface. The touch functionality is much improved over its predecessor, and it features a 10-finger input that can be used in conjunction with pen input. It is projected capacitive touch technology, and I have the feeling that it's much more reliable, and even palm ejection works better now in this model. I felt pretty comfortable using the pen as well as touch gestures at the same time while working with tools like Photoshop or Lightroom. In my main other apps, especially tools like After Effects, Premiere Pro and Cinema 4D, I don't use touch too much, at least not for my personal workflow. If you do not want to use touch at all or temporarily want to disable it, there's a little button on the back of the device that lets you toggle touch on or off quite easily. So now let's talk about one of my favorite new features, the all-new Wacom Pro Pen 3. It is my absolute favorite of all Wacom's pens, and in my opinion, it shows that Wacom really listens to their customers, as many demanded a pen that is thinner or thicker, lighter or heavier, and with 3 buttons or no buttons at all. Another artist wants a very heavy pen with a different center of gravity. But before that, the solution was to buy multiple pens to satisfy these needs. But now Wacom provides the most customizable pen that can be configured to match exactly your demands. It comes with a newly designed attachable pen tray, which can be the new resting place for your pen, but also contains all the extra goods. You will find 5 extra standard nibs, 5 extra felt nibs, and also a high-tech nib removing tool that helps you to remove used nibs. By default, it ships with 2 different rubber grips and multiple button sets. For example, a flat button when used in a slimmer configuration, and an elevated button when used with the thicker rubbers. All of them feature 3 buttons, something that actually was exclusive to the 3D pen before this model. The engineers at Wacom also came out with a fantastic idea of being able to insert a metal weight into the pen with 2 possible options to adjust the center of gravity and further customize the pen to an unparalleled level. So you can turn around that little weight that helps you to define how you want to feel when working with a pen. One potentially overlooked feature is also the slightly longer pen nib. Combined with the cone angle of the new pen tip, the pen front doesn't block your view of the content, so especially the brush tip or the cursor when you're working on it, because you can actually see the tip of that. So you can really see the difference between the Pro Pen 2 and the Pro Pen 3 here quite clearly. The pen is, of course, as always, without batteries. It features the same 8,192 pressure sensitive levels, and believe me, I have counted them all. Just as many as the Pro Pen 2, by the way. And in case you're wondering, you cannot use the new Pro Pen 3 pen with older devices. However, if you prefer your trusty Pro Pen 1 or 2, you can continue to use those with the new Cintiq models. Speaking of differences to the previous generation of pens. On the downside though is the removal of the eraser on the back. If you liked and used this feature, you will definitely be missing it on the new pen. But I guess it had to be removed so that the back end can be unscrewed so you can use the weight to configure your pen to your personal needs. Personally, I have not used the eraser too much and I won't be missing it really. Overall, I really love this new pen, and it's easily my new favorite feature of the new Cintiq models. Let's talk about those 1/4-inch holes on the side around the Cintiq. At first I was like, why in the world would you have holes in the display, until I realized how smart this actually is. You can use these 1/4-inch holes to mount additional accessories and devices to your Cintiq. In this way, you can fully customize and equip your workspace to your exact needs. For example, Wacom offers separately sold extension tables, that is an extension tray that is really nice and features a rubberized surface so you can rest your keyboard, phone, reference materials like books or images in your work area and in your peripheral vision. Of course, the new pen tray can also be attached on either side, but also you can use it to attach really useful gadgets like webcams and lights, for example. In my case, I'm using many of the fantastic Elgato products, and they not only work perfectly with it, but also look great in combination with the Cintiq. In my case, I have the Facecam Pro and the Keylight Mini attached to it with the Elgato wall mount arms. However, due to some fan noise, I would not advise to put a microphone on top of the Cintiq, it might pick it up. But more on that a little later. As I do a lot of online presentations and webinars and reviews, as this one for example, this setup is also really useful for all the artists, creators out there that might have a benefit of using all this equipment around it. With these fantastic options, the Cintiq Pro is now a complete multi-tool, almost like a Swiss Army knife that allows you to be ready for any task. Okay, let's switch gears and let's talk about the express key buttons. There are two types of Wacom users, those that use express keys and those that don't use them. Me personally, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with them, and I'm certainly not a power user of express keys, but I do have certain settings where I absolutely make use of them. So, for example, when working in After Effects and having to rotoscope something, I often hit repetitive keystrokes to go a frame forward or back, so I have set those keystrokes up to express keys. With the new Cintiq Pros, the express keys were moved from the front to the side, or actually to the back of the display. They are now much more subtle, but also ergonomically more accessible and comfortable. By holding the sides of the tablet in your hands, you're already in a natural grip-like position. So once you understand the physicality of it, you can quite easily feel and control the buttons just by moving your hands to the tablet. Even if you do not want to ever use those buttons, the grip-like design allows for much better tablet handling than before, especially when rotating or moving and turning the tablet angle. In total, you have 8 completely customizable buttons, 4 on the left and 4 on the right side. A scenario where I would use them quite often is, for example, when working in Substance 3D Painter. I configured an app-specific setup that allows me to use the express keys to easily and comfortably navigate in my 3D scene while working, without having to take off my hands from the Cintiq to find the keyboard. So actually I can just paint away and navigate around in my scene super easy. Speaking of express keys, for those of you that are wondering if the express key remote can be used with the new Cintiq Pro models, yes. They can be used without a problem. All you need to do is insert the USB dongle into the back port of your Cintiq Pro and off you go. Let's talk about the stand, or should I say stands, because this new range of Cintiq models do not come with built-in foldable legs or with a separate stand. Apart from the 17-inch model, which has like a default little stand, you need to get a separate device where you can mount it. So just as with Apple's XDR display, there is no stand or arm that comes with it, so you're forced to use the pen display flat on a desk, which is not really an option. With that being said, it's super nice to see that there are plenty of options that can be attached to the Cintiqs. Thankfully, Wacom made it compatible with the VESA 100 standard, so it is great for anyone wanting to use any third-party options that is compatible with the standard. So let's talk about all the different possibilities that you can have with these models. First of all, of course, the newly designed Wacom Cintiq Pro stand that is made specifically for the new Cintiq 27, 22 and 17. And also it is super easy to assemble. All you need to do is connect the base plate with the arm, tighten it with the 6 screws and attach the round mounting plate to the back of the tablet. Then simply slide it in from the top and tighten it with that little part on top. Done. The stand can easily be adjusted in height and angle, and all you have to do is actually just unlock it with that wide little mechanism at the back of the stand, bring it in your desired position, and then lock it again by pushing down the locking mechanism here. You can also bring it easily over the edge of your table if you are working or sketching in a comfortable seated position, for example, or you can also bring it into an upright setup if you want to work in a standing position, so you can really define the way you want to work with it. Of course, you can also rotate it by 20 degrees to each side, but here goes my question: why can't you rotate it more? I'm not sure why that is, but that's how it is. Another little nuisance is the lack of cable management options with the stand, especially when comparing it to the very clever and good cable management from the predecessor. You had those little channels where you could put in the cables. For someone like me that really cares about a clean and nice desk setup, I don't want to see any cables if that is possible. It's a little bit more clumsy with the new model because you will definitely have cables coming out of the back of the tablet that you will definitely see. However, overall the Wacom stand is clearly the best stability paired with a nice aesthetic, but with a little sacrifice in adjustability and flexibility. However, if you want to have the most flexible option, the Wacom Flex Arm offers more options in terms of positioning, with a little sacrifice of stability. It's not as stable as the stand, obviously, because it's on an arm. However, for my needs, it's really nice because I can just adjust it to the position I want. If you have an older Wacom Flex Arm from the previous generation, Wacom offers an adapter for the new Cintiq Pros that allows you to mount your new models onto the arm, just as I did in my case. The arm can be moved freely and adjusted in any angle or position you prefer. To me and my workspace requirements that I have here, this is my preferred mounting solution, especially since I can easily move it completely out of my range, either to the back or to the side. Personally, I'm using my Cintiq workstation as a secondary workplace where I do a lot of live streams and also seminars. So in this case, I'm basically moving my Cintiq up to a vertical position, almost like just a monitor. When I have to do retouching work or editing and texture painting, I move it forward so I can actually work and draw on the Cintiq. Let's talk about software, and first of all, the new driver and the new settings app. Now with the new Cintiq Pros, it is one unified application called Wacom Center, where everything is in one interface. Before you had to go to the system settings to change parameters like pressure and button settings and shortcuts and all the configurations. So with the new Wacom Center, it allows you to easily customize your device to your needs in one very appealing design. So you can configure everything, the buttons, the pen, and of course all the helpful on-screen controls. The Cintiq Pro also comes with a selection of complementary software. Most of these are free to use for either 3 or 6 months, but this offer may vary, so check before you buy. Alright, so altogether the new range of the Wacom Cintiq Pro pen displays is absolutely the best line of pen displays ever, no question. My highlight is easily the new Pro Pen 3 with the smaller form factor of the overall device and the color performance of the display, but also the 120 Hz performance to reduce lag. Even little details like the 1/4-inch screw holes are incredibly clever and useful that make this family of Cintiqs the most customizable ever. There are also a few things I do not like, for example the noticeable fan noise. Especially in very silent environments, you can clearly hear the Cintiq Pro fans. I get it, you need to cool the panel, you don't want to have sweaty hands, you don't want to have like a hot display that you work on all day. But there must be a way to keep it more silent. Also, in the previous generation, Wacom had a little update that allowed you to manually adjust the fan speed versus temperature, and I don't see that on the new models. One interesting side note, however, was that I found that the 22-inch model was a lot quieter than the 27-inch. However, to me, this is not a showstopper and wouldn't keep me from buying one. In bigger studio environments, you will probably not hear the fans, although I wish these would be quieter. And last but not least, the price. These products are not cheap by any means, but at the same time they are for absolute pros that do make a living using these tools day in and day out, and this for multiple years. But I also understand that this might not be for everyone, so of course you can also look at other alternatives, like the Cintiq range or even the Wacom One series. Both series have fewer high-end features of course, but are much more affordable and still offer a great value price range. Altogether, I believe this lineup absolutely shows that Wacom is still very much at the top of available pen displays on the market and will give you a lot of joy and fun when creating your work. Alright, thank you so much for checking out this video. Let me know what you think of the new Cintiq lineup down below in the comment sections, and also do not forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to make sure that you don't miss any new videos. So thank you so much, and until next time.